UBC Radio 98 FM in Mukono, Hoima, Masindi, Masaka, Sironko, Kalangala, and Jinja. UBC Radio, inspiring Uganda.
The Link. The minimum standard which is expected of a public officer or a leader. This is nothing to deal with declarations. It's how you behave, how you conduct yourself in office and outside office.
The Link.
I'm a chief. Yes. If my children are not disciplined, then I can't discipline other people, because my children will be the role model of the community.
The Link.
Because here the whole hullabaloo is caused by the introduction of the new lower secondary school curriculum, which is calling for research.
The Link on UBC Radio, connecting you to the world of information.
In today's link, let's know more about domestic violence. My name is Mary Prima Awor. Domestic violence is violence committed by someone in the victim's domestic circle. The term domestic violence is used when there is a close relationship between the offender and the victim. This includes partners and ex-partners, immediate family members, other relatives and family friends. Domestic abuse is physical, sexual, emotional, economic or psychological actions or threats of action that influence another person. Recent statistics in Uganda shows that 30% of women, or 1 of every 3 women, is a victim of physical and or sexual domestic violence at least once in their lifetime. The Uganda Bureau of Statistics report published in 2007 shows that 68 of ever married women aged 15 to 49 years had experienced some form of violence inflicted on them by their spouse or intimate partner. According to the Annual Crime Report 2021, the Uganda Police Force recorded a total of 17,533 cases of domestic violence compared to 17,664 reported in 2020, showing a 0.74% decrease. Domestic violence cases are mainly caused by disputes over family property, failure to provide for the family, drug and alcohol abuse, and cases of infidelity which highly lead to deaths, divorce, and depression. In Uganda, the legislation that deals with domestic violence is the Domestic Violence Act 2010, the act to provide for the protection and relief of victims of domestic violence, to provide for the punishment of perpetrators of domestic violence, to provide for the procedure and guidelines to be followed by the court in relation to the protection and compensation of victims of domestic violence, to provide for the jurisdiction of court, to provide for the enforcement of order made by the court, to enforce the family and child court, to handle cases of domestic violence and for related matters. Under the Domestic Violence Act 2010, Section 4 contains the prohibition of domestic violence, stating that a person in a domestic relationship shall not engage in domestic violence. A person in a domestic relationship who engages in domestic violence commits an offense and is liable on conviction to a fine not exceeding 48 currency points or imprisonment not exceeding 2 years or to both. The court may, in addition to imposing a fine or imprisonment, order the offender in a case of domestic violence to pay compensation to a victim of an amount determined by the court. In determining the compensation under subsection 3, the court shall be guided by the principle in the second schedule. According to Uganda Police, a total of 17,553 people were victims of domestic violence, of whom 3,103 were adult male, 12,877 were adult females, while 871 and 702 were male and female juveniles respectively. Anyone can be a victim of domestic violence regardless of age, race, gender, sexual orientation, faith, or class. As individuals, let's fight against domestic violence by 1. Recognizing domestic violence for what it is. 2. Contact your local area leaders such as the LC1 chairperson or defense secretary. 3. Report your case to the nearest police station. 4. Contact legal aid service providers who may help you to get a protection order against your abuser, and also seek medical care in cases of sexual and physical abuse. Consent of a victim is no defense in domestic violence. My name is Mary Prima Awor.
This is UBC Radio, the home of inspiration.
You're listening to your voice program on UBC Radio, Inspiring Uganda.
Welcome back from that break. I am Henry Baguma, Jackie Achiro, and Herbert Chigundu. We are discussing PARISH development model. Now, gentlemen, the third point I want to focus on is the pillars or the strategies based on PARISH development model. I do understand there are 7 of them. So which one is which, and for what purpose was it created? I start with Dr. Bitwaiki. You will share this, the 7 PARISH development models.
Thank you very much, Mr. Baguma and dear listeners. Indeed, there are 7 pillars. You know, when you build a house, there are those kind of poles or walls or in the center, and you build in order for the house to be strong. So in order for this PDM to be a reality, it has been found very clear that 7 pillars have been identified under which this the PARISH model is going to be implemented. And the first one is agricultural value chain development. And under this agricultural value chain development, this is we have the issues of production, we have issues of agricultural storage, we have issues of agricultural processing, and we have issues of marketing. And then the second pillar is infrastructure and economic services. This is why you have issues to do with roads. This is why you have issues to do with bridges. And then the third pillar is the financial inclusion. You know, people have been only looking at financial inclusion as PDM. So you can see there are 7 pillars. So we have got agricultural value chain development, which focuses on production, storage, processing and marketing. Then the second pillar being infrastructure and economic services, and the third one being now the financial inclusion, which people have been only focusing on. And then the fourth pillar is the social services. Social services, you talk about health, you talk about education, so all those fall under the category of social services. I'm going to request my colleague to talk about the other remaining 3.
Yeah, thank you very much. You see, PARISH development model is anchored or is structured into 7 pillars. The 7 pillars, so far, my colleague has talked about 4. But the 5th one is community mobilization and mindset change. That is the 5th pillar, which is also very important. Our mindset change maybe has let us down. And maybe that's why we are still stuck in subsistence at some point, because we need to change the mind. We need to have a positive mind in order to produce. Mindset change on what? Sometimes people ask yourself, so you're going to teach people on mindset change. What is mindset change? Mindset change on what? Mindset change has different dimensions. But me, I'm going to look at in relation to pillar 1, mindset change in relation to value chain, agricultural value chain development. So when we were in Chibuku during pre-launch activities, you could visit a household and you ask them, now what is your plan in the next 5 years? So someone could tell you that, you know, as long as I get something to eat, the rest I don't know. So already someone has given up. That is already mindset that needs to be changed. So mindset on production, how to produce, when to produce, where and how, very key. So mindset in relation to pillar 1, I could look at it in that way. How do people produce? How should people produce? Where? How? That is in terms of technology, in terms of infrastructure, in terms of etc. So that is the mindset change.
Yes, thank you very much. Yes, it's on mindset change because now you are involving the radios and television. I do understand. And the UBC, recently you trained the UBC staff across the country, almost 100 members of staff underwent training. I don't know, Dr. Bitwaike could start from there. What was the reason for engaging UBC staff, editors, sub-editors, the managing director, producers throughout the country in this, plus other media houses? What's the role of media in this program?
Mr. Henry Waguma,
Because journalists are not poor people, I'm sure.
Mr. Henry Waguma, training the media fraternity or the UBC media staff was not about them being beneficiaries. It was about them being vehicles, core vehicles of information dissemination. Because you realize this PDM people need a lot of information to understand how this PDM is going to work. So we were equipping the UBC staff across the country with information and knowledge to be able to disseminate the information, to be able to educate our people, to be able to guide our people, to be able to help even monitor the activities of the PDM.
So what is specifically the role of UBC in this project right now? The way you, because I'm sure
right now you can see,
and all this.
Like
where does UBC fall?
You can see UBC is very, very essential. Is very central in the issue of information dissemination, educating the public. Even our people being across the country, the station across the country, they are able to get information, disseminate, educate, and even guide. And that's why it's even we're able to host our colleague from the Parish Model Secretariat, and a clear program is actually already developed where countrywide UBC stations, UBC staff are going to be playing a very key role in dissemination, in educating, in guiding, and even in monitoring and evaluation of this program by provision of, they disseminate, correct, and even do feedback on how the Parish Model is performing.
Dr. Robert, are you not over pumping information to the population?
Not really.
Because they're using almost all media houses, everybody, politician, the president, I mean, everybody has been put on board to talk about PDM.
And exactly that's what we need. We need everyone to understand, because everyone has a stake in the implementation of parish development model. And everyone has a responsibility, including the key stakeholders of parish development model. And in this case, the key stakeholders of parish development model are those people, the 39% are the key stakeholders of parish development model. Now, training UBC was very key. It was very key because we wanted to have a harmonized strategy of communicating the activities of parish development model. So, training, UBC being the lead media in the land, it was really very good for them to get to understand how parish development model is going to operate and is going to be implemented, so that we can have a harmonized strategy of communicating, of reporting, and sharing knowledge, transfer of knowledge to every person from all the corners of this country, to understand how parish development model works and how it is going to be implemented.
Thank you very much. Members, are you aware that there would be, I want to call them would-be beneficiaries, because I don't know yet much who should be a beneficiary. People are waiting to see the first coin arrive into their pocket. So what is the current status of this project, and what is delaying the money to come? For example, in Banda Parish where I live, and your village all over this, I would imagine by now people should already be seeing the money and counting their hands. Let's start with Mr. Bitwaiki.
I think you realize, Mr. Henry Waguma and the dear listeners, this parish model requires systematic planning and systematic budgeting and systematic implementation. It's not delaying at all. It is government this time trying to do things right. Right? And right now, you remember, now we are sensitizing the public, we are sensitizing the citizens, we are sensitizing the beneficiaries. Information on each of the household is being collected so that they can easily and authoritatively identify who are the core beneficiaries, which is very, very important. Otherwise, everybody will say, I'm poor and I want to benefit from this money. Maybe my colleague can add on that.
Yes, sir. What's the current status of...
Yeah, thank you very much.
And why delay? Because everybody's waiting.
Yeah, the delay is about the organization and reorganization of the beneficiaries. So right now, UBOS and the Minister of ICT, who are responsible for data collection, are already on ground collecting data. And this data is about the household, is about the community, and the way that it is being done is through wealth ranking. And under wealth ranking, that's where you identify the vulnerable and those who are not vulnerable. Actually, that is where you get the 39% exactly that this household is supposed to be catered for under parish development model. So the program is going on.
The program is going on, yes.
yes,
At that point, I also to come in. What then are the challenges you have so far identified? I don't want to say you have faced, but what are the loopholes, the challenges you have identified as a project?
So the
and
challenge.
How are you attempting to overcome those challenges?
Yeah, the challenges normally are there in all organizations. Whatever you do, you also anticipate, you have to anticipate that there might be some challenges. So one of the challenges is now getting the 39% of the household. It's not easy, but we have to go through all the nitty-gritties. Like I've told you, the wealth ranking that we identify those people that really we need to identify. It's not been easy, but the work is ongoing. As I've told you, UBOS and Ministry of ICT are all engaged in trying to collect this data that can inform who is the beneficiary and who is not the beneficiary.
Then the other challenge, Mr. Waguma, is about the mindset. You know that some of our people have completely given up on their well-being. They say, me, I will never get 100,000 in my pocket. Some people are like that. So one of the biggest challenges is the mindset, and then the issue of corruption. Some people think they have to be Kayungirizi in order for people to get that PDM money. So there's one of that challenge, and that challenge is now being addressed through issue of sensitization of our communities.
Okay, thank you very much. We are focusing on parish development model. Members, if you go by media reports, there are some critics against this program. Others are saying, no, it can't work. The Uganda, UBOS also recently issued some statement towards that, saying maybe we need figures and facts before we implement this. So this is being identified as one of the challenges. Maybe I start with Mr. Bitoike. Have you heard that information regarding the controversies regarding different operations?
You know, Mr. Baguma, planning without data, you are not planning at all. And that's one of the biggest problems we've had with even some of these programs, which people think they failed, but at least they achieved something. So, if households that are vulnerable are not identified, then still people will start saying the program has failed. So, when UBOS says let us get data, the data brings what they call evidence-based planning, evidence-based budgeting. So I think it is critical. Personally, I would also subscribe to UBOS's view that let us get the vulnerable household right other than guessing.
Okay, other than guessing. I want to understand, Sir Robert, is this Uganda the first of this nature? Are you benchmarking? Has this project ever been tested anywhere worldwide? Where has it succeeded? Give me a global picture, because for you are an academician yourself, for you are a researcher, and you base on findings.
Yes, thank you very much. Yeah, benchmarking, yes, is a good thing. But again, when shall we do our own? So that even those we think we should benchmark from can also come here and benchmark from us. So our benchmark would be in Chibuku, where we launched parish development model, because we did all the activities.
No, Chibuku, that's Uganda.
That's Uganda. On the global scene, for us, we are doing parish development model here in Uganda. We are not benchmarking. We actually want those people outside to come and benchmark from here. So we are not benchmarking outside. We want to do here our own initiative, so that even other thing, this syndrome of benchmarking, the president always talks about it. We are not going to keep benchmarking. When shall we develop our
but
own?
We are living in a small world.
Yes,
the global village. They call it. You call it yourself, academician. You call it a small world. So
yes,
it's a reason why you need to know
yes,
what other people are
doing. I don't want to discuss something to do with benchmark, because we also want to be benchmarked.
Okay.
Yes.
Let's talk about Kibuku in particular. Why Kibuku in particular? Why was it picked to be the first area, the first beneficiary one? And what's the latest right now? Are the people of Kibuku all jumping and clapping?
Thank you, Mr. Baguma and the listeners. Yeah, we launched Parish Development Model on 26th of February 2022. And prior to that, PDM carried out a lot of activities on ground, which prompted now His Excellency to launch PDM on 26th. But why Chibuku? Chibuku has been identified out of other areas in Uganda. Actually, no, Bukedi. Okay, talk about Bukedi sub-region. The second in ranking of the regions that are under really subsistence, that are poor. Yeah, we talk about Karamoja, and then Bukedi comes second. And the reason why we decided to launch Parish Development Model in Bukedi sub-region was to make sure that, because again, when President visited, people were talking about that Nkolera Chidachonka. They are working for the stomach. And I've already told you that when we were there, we could ask some of the household members, what is the next plan you have? They could tell you, as long as I get what to eat, then the rest I don't care. So meaning that for them, they have already given up. And they don't have hope of transforming to another level. So the president looked at it and said that we need to we need to launch Parish Development Model.
Thank you very much. Time is not running out. Really, we don't have much time left, but we need to exhaust a lot of things within such a short time. You are going to give one. Initially, it was 17 million shillings. Now it has been raised to 100 million. I do understand some areas it should be now 117 million. This money coming, 100 million, how is it going to be distributed? Is it cash to everybody around the house? Is it for, I don't know. Is it different from circles, for example?
No, Mr. Baguma, this 100 million shillings is a revolving fund that is coming from the central government to every parish in this country. Now, this money is not going to anybody's pocket. It is for different groups that have identified enterprise groups to invest. And when they invest this money, any of that 6% interest on that will still be put back into that parish revolving fund. So that money has gone to the parish from the central government. It will be revolving along the parish and will never go back to central government. So it's not money for putting in people's pockets, but money for these groups in the parish to use to develop themselves.
Yeah, some people have been saying this is a sancho by His Excellency the President for winning the previous elections.
Not really. It is not a thank you that
Casimo.
It is not a casimo, as you have said. Yeah, it attracts some percentage, some interest, which is very insignificant, 6% per annum. Of course, as my colleague has put it, it is a revolving fund. This money will come directly from Minister of Finance to the Parish Development Circle, which will be established at the parish. But its composition derives from the enterprise groups that have been formed from the grassroots. Each group must have a unique enterprise that in which they deal in, and different households, different groups will now go to the parish and feed the parish development circle. Okay. And this money is really...
So it's not Casimo?
It's not Casimo.
Okay, thank you very much. And I'm Henry Baguma, Habate Chigondo, and Justy Chiro in this special program, Your Voice program, in which we are focusing on Parish Development Model. So we have only just 2 minutes in which I give you, each of you, to give me your final comment and message to people listening. Let's start with Dr. Robert Behangana. Your final message.
Yeah, thank you very much. So I want to inform the public, inform the fellow countrymen, countrywomen, that this time around, Parish Development Model is going to work for you. And the whole of government is moving to interact with all the people down there, that so that they can do what? They can realize that government is looking at them and is working for them.
Thank you very much. Yes.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Baguma and the dear listeners. For me, my message is to our identified beneficiaries. The moment you are identified as a beneficiary, Two things. Make sure you understand how you are going to utilize this support. Two, please focus yourself to get out of poverty. To the politicians, please understand this program and don't politicize this. Let everybody in your area of jurisdiction benefit. Three, technocrats, please be specific, do what you are supposed to do so that this program can work. I thank everybody for listening to me.
Okay. I thank everybody for listening to me. Is the last word. I am Henry Baguma, Jackie Achiro, Herbert Chigundu in Your Voice program, winding up this time round, and we've been focusing on Parish Development Model. Don't go away, because News in English and News Hour is coming next, and in the near future we shall bring more guests to talk about Parish Development Model. So keep tuned to UBC Radio, and until then, God bless you and stay well.
Thank you for tuning in to your voice program on UBC Radio. UBC Radio, inspiring Uganda.
Your voice, your platform for exchange of views on topical issues that concern you and our nation.
It is therefore quite comic and laughable to hear of some actors in the world giving us lectures about democracy. You give me lecture about democracy? What are your own credentials?
Join us Monday to Friday from 7 to 8 p.m. as we tackle issues of national interest.
Mahatma Gandhi was a hero for India, but was so much of a hero to the Africans who were struggling to have the liberation. Nelson Mandela was a hero to the South Africans, but more so to the Africans, and more so to the entire world, about how you can fight freedom without actually having to hold the gun yourself and fight. So it all depends. It can be global, it can be regional, it can be national, it can be communal, and it can be family.
Your voice, only on UBC Radio. Inspiring Uganda.
Wherever you are, listen to UBC Radio.
The link, the minimum standard which is expected of a public officer or a leader. This is nothing to deal with declarations. It's how you behave, how you conduct yourself in office and outside office.
The link.
I'm a chief.
Yes.
If my children are not disciplined, then I can't discipline other people, because my children will be the role model of the community.
The link.
Because here the whole hullabaloo is caused by the introduction of the new lower secondary school curriculum, which is calling for research.
The link on UBC Radio, connecting you to the world of information.
In today's link, let us keep healthy by learning more about TB. My name is Benjamin Omachari. About 1/4 of the world's population is infected with tuberculosis bacteria. Only a small proportion of those infected will become sick with TB. People with weakened immune systems have a much greater risk of falling ill from tuberculosis. A person living with HIV is about 20 times more likely to develop active TB. According to the Ministry of Health, Uganda is one of the 30 World Health Organization designated countries with a high burden of TB/HIV. In 2019, the estimated incident rate for TB was 200 per 100,000 populations, and the mortality rate was 35 per 100,000 population. Research from Mayo Clinic states that tuberculosis is spread through the air when a person with untreated TB disease of the lungs coughs, sneezes, laughs or sings. A person must be in close contact with someone with untreated TB disease of the lungs for a long period of time and needs to breathe in TB germs for infection to occur. The bacteria can settle in the lungs and begin to grow. From there, they can move through the blood to other parts of the body, such as the kidney, spine, and the brain. TB is not spread by shaking someone's hand, sharing food or a drink, touching bed linens or toilet seats, sharing toothbrushes, or even kissing. According to health experts, it's important to know the signs and symptoms of active TB, which include coughing for 3 or more weeks, coughing up blood or mucus, chest pain or pain with breathing or coughing, unintentional weight loss, fatigue, fever, night sweats, chills, and loss of appetite. See your doctor if you have a fever, unexplained weight loss, drenching night sweats, or a persistent cough. These are often indications of TB, but can also result from other conditions. Also, see your doctor if you think you have been exposed to tuberculosis. Your health is your wealth. My name is Benjamin Nomachar.